Hey, what is going on, y'all? This is Sneed with Sneed Sports. We got our second edition of the NBA standings and power rankings for the 2021 NBA season. We did this last week, so we did it for week one. We're going to follow it up this week with week number two. A little bit of movement within the standings and then also with the power rankings. So let's go ahead and go through the updated version of where all the teams stand in the NBA currently. This is for week two of the NBA season. I want to first give a big shout out to all of those who are now subscribed to the channel, who maybe have migrated from the SMT Tech channel. I want to thank you all for making your way over here and supporting, liking and sharing the videos, watching all the content, the live streams. We appreciate you very much. Let's get things started with the NBA standings. We'll start first with the Eastern Conference. We're going to start at the bottom and work our way to the top. So at number 15, we have the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons are not a good basketball team. They are a team that lack a lot of talent. Okay, so they have a couple of nice players. Blake Griffin is obviously one heck of a talent. He's had an incredible career. He's always been very athletic. He's always been fun to watch. But he has now basically relegated himself to just taking threes. I mean, this guy is shooting like 2/3 of his shot are from beyond the arc, which is very non-traditional for a power forward. It looks like he's just kind of become this outside shooter. And I'll give him some credit. He has been making them. I think he's making like over 37% of them, which is impressive. But honestly, I don't know how sustainable it is. And honestly, I don't know if that's even a winning combination for them because they're 1-6. Anyways, they're the worst team in the East along with the Raptors. I'll just go ahead and throw them in there. The Raptors don't have a good offense. I think the problem is they're not scoring points. Their sets aren't very good. Pascal Siakam is offensively challenged at this point. I think because he is now the focal point of the team without having anybody else to kind of help with those offensive duties, it's kind of forced the issue and put more on the plates of Fred VanVleet as well as Kyle Lowry, who are both good players, but maybe it's just too much to ask for from these few guys. Maybe they're all kind of secondary players. So without a star there, I think it's going to be more losing moving forward. All right, next we have the Washington Wizards, and the Wizards are, being led by a new core structure. Russell Westbrook is now pretty much the face of the franchise along with Bradley Beal, who has been there. Russell Westbrook is not a sharpshooter by any means. He's still taking a lot of shots, but he's obviously not shooting a lot of threes, and I think that's smart. He's not a very good shooter, and especially from the three. So he's probably better off trying to get to the rim, finish around the rim. I know his free throw shooting isn't that great either, but hey, he's very athletic. He can make some plays. And actually, for the first few games, it was kind of rough to watch this team play. But in the last few games, they found a way to get a couple of wins. So as long as they don't go on those bad losing streaks, I think that the Wizards could potentially compete for a final playoff spot in the East. But they're going to have to get better defensively, and they're going to have to get more consistent. Number 12, we have the Hornets. I don't want to spend too much time on these teams at the bottom, but they are a fun team to watch. They have Lonzo Ball. They have Miles Bridges. They have Malik Monk. But they have these players, but for whatever reason, they're just not translating into wins. They're bottom in the league for a lot of different metrics. The team is young, and they're willing to share the ball, and they're willing to pass and give each other a chance to score. Just don't think they have what it takes to make the playoffs in the East this year. So they'll be a work in progress for the time being. Next up, we have the Bulls. Chicago picked up some wins over the course of the last week, which is good. They had a rough start to the year, so now they're actually 4-4. So not bad, not bad at all. They are a solid team, I think. Some of their wins have been pretty impressive. Zach LaVine is one heck of a player. I really do like watching him play. He's their centerpiece of that team. We'll see what happens with them moving forward. They were obviously had a rough start, and now they're putting a couple of wins together. I just want to see them sustain it, and I want to see them do it consistently. Next up, we have the Heat, who are 3-3. I would say definitely a disappointment thus far this year. Although, the first few games they played horribly. Now they're starting to kind of come around. They've got a couple of wins under their belt. Miami's offense is not very good. It has not been very efficient. They're turning over the ball quite a bit. They're having less possession time than their opponents, which obviously, you need to possess the ball to get quality shots. They do have young players that are very good. They have Jimmy Butler. Don't sleep on this team. They've got leadership. They've got a very, very good coach. I think they'll be fine. Expect the Heat to kind of get things together on a consistent basis. They should be fine moving forward. I don't think they'll finish the year at the 10th spot in the East. I do think they'll finish top 3. So look for them to get some wins in the near future and get rolling. Next up, we have the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant, he doesn't have COVID, but COVID-19 protocol has him out for the next week or so. So he's probably going to miss the next 3 or 4 games. That probably means that their efficiency on the scoring end, their offense is probably going to pay the price. All right, I don't think there's anybody who can score at the efficiency of Kevin Durant. Maybe LeBron James, but that's pretty much it. Kyrie Irving is going to be asked to do more offensively. I think also LeVert and a couple of those other guys are going to have to step up just a bit. Maybe Joe Harris do a little bit more shooting. But again, it gives the team a chance to, kind of become a cohesive unit. With Kevin Durant out being asked to do more, we'll see if they're up to the task moving forward for the next week or so. Next up, we have the Hawks. Trae Young looks fantastic. John Collins, Clint Capella. They've added some players, Rajon Rondo, Danilo Gallinari. They've got these guys, man. They're just playing great basketball. These guys are shooting lights out. They're rebounding. They're playing defense. Sometimes they're keeping teams under 100 points. We'll see if that can hang tight. But, they started out really hot, and they have lost a couple of games. But honestly, I think they've got a team that can actually sustain. I think they're going to get hot again, and I think they're going to win a lot of games this year. So they're currently at the 8th spot. They were in the top 3 to start, in the first week of the season. They've had a couple of losses since then, but I expect them to bounce back. Next up, we have the Bucks. They're 4-3. They're rolling now. They started off kind of rough in the start of the year. They've now moved into the top 7 in the Eastern Conference. They just had to kind of catch their groove. Giannis is back in Giannis MVP form. I think he's averaging 26 points, 11 boards, and 5.5 assists. So he's obviously leaving his impact on all these games. He's got great numbers. Expect him to carry this team for the remainder of the year. Don't expect them to be number 7 for very long. I expect them to pass the Cavs, the Knicks, the Celtics, and the Pacers, and most likely the Magic. They're definitely going to be vying for a top 2 or 3 spot. Next up at 4-3, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland's defense is decent. It's a pretty good defense. They're willing and they're able to try to defend. The bright spot on offense is really Colin Sexton, but the problem is there's not really much else. I think they've overachieved up to this point, and I think some of that has worn off a little bit. But they're a team that is scrappy. They're a team that plays hard. So you never know exactly what you're going to get out of this team. You're definitely going to get their best effort, but it's going to be hard for them to win without having that talent. Dante Exum is going to be out for an extended amount of time. They're saying he might be out for a month or 2. So if that's the case, that's a tough loss. The Cavs are 4-3 right now. They started really hot. They're starting to cool off a bit. I don't know if they have the staying power to stay in the playoff hunt, especially without a player like Dante Exum, who's a big piece of what they do. Another team that I'm surprised is there is the New York Knicks. They are 4-3 as well. They've played pretty well up to this point. I would say that Julius Randle is a big part of that. He looks good. He's scoring at a 22-point per game average, 11 rebounds a game, 7.5 assists. He's been really good. He's getting teammates involved. He's leading. I don't know. People are starting to watch the Knicks, and they noticed them. People did not expect them to be this good thus far this year. So I don't know if it's sustainable. I don't really believe in the Knicks as an organization. I don't really believe in the Knicks, roster as a playoff contender. As of right now, they're in the playoffs as it stands, but they've got to do this over the course of the year. So we'll track that. Pleasantly surprised to see what they're doing thus far. I just don't know if we can expect this the rest of the year. Next up, the Celtics. They're 5-3. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are fantastic. These guys are one of the best duos in the league. I've said that before. Very few teams have a combo of these two guys, that can score the ball like they can. There are nights where Jason Tatum is off and Jaylen Brown picks him up, and vice versa, where Jaylen is cold and Jason picks him up. They're a fantastic young core. They're amazing to watch. It's a lot of fun. I want to say that Jaylen's averaging 27 points a game. He's efficient, 43% from the three-point, 65% true shooting percentage. Some of these numbers are incredible. And they have some defenders, guys that are willing to defend, like Marcus Smart, and some of those guys coming off the bench are really, really solid. They've got good roles, defined roles for their players, good coaching. I like what the Celtics have to offer. Expect them, since they're at 4 now, I expect them to stay around that point, maybe finish top 3 in the Eastern Conference. they're a good team. They will be making noise throughout the season and in the playoffs. Next up, we have the Pacers. They just actually incurred a pretty nasty injury. TJ Warren's going to be out. I think he's having a foot surgery shortly. They've got that injury, so that's going to affect them. He's a big piece of their success thus far, but they've been playing very, very well. They're a competitive team. They're a scrappy team. They're 5-2 currently. I don't know what the rest or, like the near future is for their schedule. The fact that they've got, these wins thus far, I don't know. They're going to be missing TJ Warren for a pretty long, extended amount of time. So I'll be looking to see if the Pacers can get it together and keep it going. Aaron Holiday's going to have to step up. It's a big loss, and I don't know if they'll be able to beat some of the better teams without him, and we'll just have to see what happens. I'm tracking it. I do like the Pacers. I just don't know how good they can be if your only option is Victor Oladipo and Miles Turner. Those are really their only two options. You do need some help outside of those two players. One of the big surprises of the NBA is the Orlando Magic. They're 5-2. Their defense is pretty good. It's basically the reason why they are in the position they currently are. They're not hitting a lot of threes. They're not taking a lot. But honestly, that defense must be good enough. They're getting a lot of offensive boards as well. So they're doing some things pretty good. We'll see if they can keep it up. Again, it's a pleasant surprise. I don't know if it's sustainable, but they're playing good basketball right now. They're 5-2, and they're number 2 in the East. And number 1 in the East is the Joel Embiid-led Philadelphia 76ers. He looks amazing. They're saying that he's MVP caliber. He's averaging over 23 points, over 12 boards. He's a force in the paint on the defensive end. He's been a clear leader for that team, leading by example. He's an incredible talent. I've always said that as long as he's healthy and his mind is right, this guy is one of the best in the game. You just can't make him like this. 7 feet. He's got some three-point range. He can rebound. He can block shots. He's an absolutely fantastic talent. We'll see how Ben Simmons plays this year. I think he's a big factor, as well as Tobias Harris. Again, they go as far as Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris can take them, because I expect Joel Embiid to be the guy that they can count on. But what do the other guys do for the team? As of right now, they are number 1 in the East. All right, let's look at the West and what's going on there. We'll start at the bottom with the Grizzlies. They've got injury problems. They've lost John Morant. He's going to be out for a while with that sprained ankle. They've got a couple of nice young players. Let's throw in the Jaren Jackson Jr. injury, the Justice Winslow injury. That's a lot of players to have down. They're probably going to lose quite a bit of games due to those injuries. The Timberwolves also 2-5. The Timberwolves, as soon as they lost Karl Anthony Towns, you knew they weren't going to be able to compete with a lot of teams. I think they're 0-6 since they lost him to that injury. All right, number 13 in the West is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're 2-4. Oklahoma City, led by Al Horford. He's a pretty good player. If you watch him, he's a solid guy. He's a great teammate. But, I don't know about this roster. I don't know if it's going to be, there's going to be many wins for them out there. They're 2-4 currently. That might be the type of team they are. I don't expect too much from them moving forward. Next, we have the Houston Rockets. They are 2-3 currently. I don't think they'll be there too long. I think they're starting to kind of catch their groove. John Wall is really starting to play out hoops. He's a very, very good player. I know a lot of people question his ability to stay healthy, and a lot of people question his ability to lead as a teammate. But I think with him and James Harden, if they can kind of find a groove together and they want to be there, and they're showing that they're happy playing with each other, why not? Why can't they win some games? I think 2-3 is a little bit of an underachievement. I think they should be winning 3 out of 5 games, not winning 2 out of 5 games. So I think they're on their way up. I think they're ascending. The last 4 or 5 games have been better than the first few. So I'm sure they're going to win some more. We'll see them ascend through the Western Conference. Expect them to make it to the playoffs, in my opinion. All right, so the Nuggets are 3-4. I think underachieving a bit. They have a couple of wins against some crappier teams. But honestly, with a guy like Nikola, the Joker, and a guy like Jamal Murray, this is a good team. They'll be fine. I think they just, again, it's one of those situations where it's early in the season. Let them catch their groove. Let the guys get into their rhythm and whatnot, get that scoring up. Honestly, some of their possessions are pretty questionable. They're getting off some bad shots. I don't know. I think some guys need to step up and play a little bit better. Look for them to bounce back here after this first couple of weeks. I think the next couple of weeks will be better for them, and they'll get back to their winning ways. And number 11, also at 3-4, are the Portland Trailblazers. I feel they are also underachieving. This team should be much better. They've lost a couple of games recently in the last week. Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum, they're asked to do a lot of the scoring side. Yusuf Nurkic, he's a nice player, very good passer for a big. I think they should be winning more games, in my opinion. Hopefully they kind of get it together. Do have to often outscore their opponents because they're not the greatest defensive team. If they were to, become a better rebounding team and better defensively, I think that the young guards probably don't have to do too much. But honestly, they're going to be in a lot of shootouts throughout the year, which isn't the end of the world. They obviously have some scoring threats, but you're looking to get a couple defensive stops at key moments in the game, which I think puts a lot of pressure on those young scorers because then they have to score a little bit too much than they probably need to. So hopefully they improve defensively and the rebounding should improve. We'll see where they end up in the West. All right, next up we have the Spurs. Don't really talk too much about the Spurs because I feel like they're a team that doesn't really have an identity. They've got a young core of DeJounte Murray and Patty Mills. They've got Rudy Gay coming off the bench to offer some scoring. I don't know how good they are. Derek White is a nice player. But he's out indefinitely. I think he had an injury to his foot or his toe or something like that. Due to that, I don't know how much talent they have on the floor at any given moment. I mean, they have a great coach. He's a Hall of Famer, no doubt. But, they're a pesky team. They're an underdog-type team. I think they're well coached. They'll be, scrappy in these games, but I just don't think there's enough talent there to compete. Next up, we have the Dallas Mavericks. They're also 3-4. The Mavs are a good team. They have a lot of talent. They should be better than this. They have an MVP caliber player in Luka Doncic. I think he's really, really good. He's not a good shooter, right? I think he's shooting under 20% from three. It's a bad start for him there. His assist to turnover ratio, I believe, is down. So, I don't know. Give him a couple weeks to get in the groove. I know he's had a couple of really nice games recently. I think Dallas is going to be better. At number 7, we have the Kings. They are not as good as we thought they were. I did think that their start to the year was a little bit of an outlier, but they do have some young players. Like I said, De'Aaron Fox is a nice player. Marvin Bagley is an excellent player. They've got some talent there. I just don't know if they have what it takes to finish, in the top 8 or so in the Western Conference. It's tough in the West. You got guys like LeBron, and you got the Suns who are really hot, and the Clippers. And the Pels are a good team. The Warriors are still there. The Blazers will be there. The Nuggets, the Rockets. It's tough out there. So the Kings, I do think that if they become more consistent, they could make the playoffs. They could sneak in. But until that point, they're going to be a seesaw team. It looks like they're going to be prone to streaks where they win a few and then lose a few. Next up, we have the Warriors. And I guess it was just a matter of time until, the snake bit me. I just did a video on Steph Curry and how I said, he's not as great as people think he is. What does he do just on time? Scores 62 points. This insane barrage of three-pointers from all over the place. Perfect timing. So what is it that allowed Steph Curry to do that? He just went off and went crazy. Pretty simple. Draymond Green came back. Once Draymond comes back, it brings them a rebounder, a defender, a distributor, a teammate that will do a lot of the dirty work. So a guy like Steph can freely do his thing on offense. So I will say it, and I'm not doubling down. I'm not going to say that I was right on my video. All I'm saying is as soon as Draymond comes back, Steph lights it up. And that's because Steph will have less pressure. Draymond able to do a lot for that team. He is the heart and soul of that team in so many ways. I know that you don't want to hear it because maybe you'll just say, Sneed, you were wrong. But honestly, I still feel very, very strongly about it. Steph's only as good as his teammates allow him to be. If he has to do too much to carry the team, he simply can't do it. He's not that type of player. But anyways, they're back in their winning ways. They lost some games early on. They're back to start winning games, so it's good to see them crack the top 8. I think they're coming in at number 6 right now. Okay, they're probably going to catch their groove. They've gotten healthier. Guys are starting to play better. Expect them to finish probably in the top 4 in the Western Conference. Next up, we have the Jazz. Mike Conley is fantastic. I've always loved him as a player. I think he's a great point guard. He's averaging over 18 points a game. He's efficient, 45% from 3. He's not taking a lot of them, but he's making them when he is taking them. So his efficiency is very good. Donovan Mitchell, kind of slow to kind of come out of the gates this year. He'll get things going. He's a very nice player. Rudy Gobert, Obviously, an excellent defender. He's been solid rebounding and defending. Derek Favors, I like him as a player as well. So they've got a couple of good bigs, couple of good guards. They're going to be competing for a top 4 spot, I think, in the NBA's Western Conference. Next up, we got the Pelicans, coached by Stan Van Gundy. It looks like they are buying into the defensive end. It's really good that they're defending the rim so far, and they're pushing the pace. They've got the 4th best defense in the league in terms of the rating right now. Besides the defending, they're also rebounding. So they're doing 2 very important things to getting the ball back. And Zion Williamson is a lot of fun to watch. This is a nice young team. They're pretty awesome. And they've got the right coach for these guys, I think. Look out for them to stay in the top 5. Honestly, I feel like it's sustainable because they're willing to defend and rebound. They're always going to be in games. Next, we have the Clippers. They're currently ranked number 3 in the West. The Los Angeles Clippers, the team in the basement, as they say, always going to play second fiddle to the Lakers. They're doing pretty good. They're 5-3. They had kind of like a strange start to the year. I know that, with the Kawhi Leonard injury, when he took that elbow and had to get the stitches and he had he had to get checked for a concussion and all those things. He's a good player. Missing him, a team's going to lose. So Paul George, he's playing pretty well. Kawhi Leonard, he's back on the floor. Pat Bev, Serge Ibaka, Nick Batum, they've got players, right? And they just got to be consistent. They need to gel. This team needs cohesion. That was the problem last year. They just got to stay on the court. They got to stay healthy, and I think they can compete for a title. Another surprise team, the Suns. They are 5-2, off to a really hot start. DeAndre Ayton is fantastic. Chris Paul and Devin Booker, the guards, are playing at an elite level. Very, very nice. They're a good team. I think they are the real deal, honestly. These guys are ballers. These guys are playing a great brand. I don't think they're going to fall out of the top 3, in my opinion. I think they're going to hang around. I think they have staying power. So get used to it. The Suns are #good at basketball. And number 1, we have the Los Angeles Lakers. They are 6-2. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, the rest of the supporting cast. These guys have a championship pedigree. They know what it takes to win. They've committed to their roles. They'll defend. They'll rebound. They know how to move without the ball. They know what to expect from LeBron. They're a good team, all right? And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through the power rankings just for kicks. All right, so these are completely personal. These are my power rankings as of now. I'm going to go ahead and put the Nets down to number 10 because they lost Kevin Durant for a while. I think as soon as he comes back, it catapults them to top 5. But let's just bring them down. We'll keep them in the top 10 out of respect for Kyrie Irving and the rest of that team. I just don't think that they belong inside lower than the top number 10 spot because they don't have Kevin Durant. I don't want to discourage anybody from liking the Magic. I just don't know if I believe it. So I'll put them in the top 10 also. You could probably put them 10 and then maybe put the Nets number 9. So I guess I'll switch that. Also, I'll throw in that the Celtics belong in the top 10. We'll put them at number 8. They could probably be higher as long as they get some key wins in the Eastern Conference. That backcourt, duo is very, very good. I'm going to go ahead and put the Hawks in at number 7. You could flip-flop the Hawks and the Celtics. That's how much I believe in the Celtics and that backcourt and their defending. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and put the Hawks at number 8. I'm going to put the Celtics at number 7. All right, number 6, I'm going to put the Pacers. And again, the Pacers are a good team with a good record. I just don't know if they belong any higher than that. I'm going to put the Clippers in at number 5. They're very good. I'm going to put the Bucks at number 4 because I believe in Giannis in the regular season, and I think that team will hit a lot of big threes and they'll score a lot of points. And number 3, I'm going to go with the Suns. I could have probably put them number 2. You know what? I think I'll do that. I'm going to put the 76ers at number 3. I'm going to put the Suns at number 2, and I'm going to put the Lakers at number 1. That wraps up my top 10. That's my power rankings. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The content, doing the standings, going through all the strengths and the weaknesses of the teams, and the power rankings. If you enjoyed it, give this video a like. Thanks for listening in to this week's podcast as we ran through the standings and the power rankings of the NBA. We'll have more coverage later on this week. We're going to predict the first week of the NFL playoffs. We're going to do more NBA coverage, and hopefully we're going to have more contributions from some other people here on the channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Glad to have you here on Sneed Sports, and we'll catch you on the next one.